Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to be doing a mystery video. Some mysteries just do not add up, and this next video I'm going to be explaining one of them. I'm going to be discussing the most notorious haunted house in the world, the Amityville Horror. The house was built in 1925 in the seaside town of Amityville. It was home to several families until the DeFeo family bought the house in 1965, and this was where everything started. A man by the name of Ronald DeFeo Sr. bought the house on 112 Ocean Avenue. It was equipped with a boathouse on the Amityville River and many rooms for him, his wife and his 5 children to live in, with plenty of money to spare. In this picture we have the DeFeo children. There were 5 of them, and starting from the back row left to right you have John, Allison and Mark, and in the front row Dawn and Ronald Jr., also known as Butch. Ronald DeFeo even placed a sign in the front of his yard saying "High Hopes" as a sign of the good fortune of their family. But that is completely ironic, as there is a much darker side. It was reported that the family life at the residence was seemingly unusual. On one hand, they appeared to be very religious. There were religious artifacts all around the house, and even outside of the property, religious statues surrounding the whole entire house. However, Ronald Sr. was a very hot-tempered man, and he was reportedly very violent to his family. There were constant fights, bickering and beatings for no particular reason. As Butch grew older, him and his father's relationship was getting worse. Ronald Sr. realised that his son's behaviour was becoming very irregular for no apparent reason. Ronald arranged for Butch to see a psychiatrist, which made things even worse because Butch did not think that he needed any help. Ronald DeFeo started buying Butch whatever he wanted in a hope that it would help his behaviour. He was literally throwing Butch money. By the age of 17, Butch was using the money on drinks and serious drugs such as heroin and LSD. On November the 13th, 1974, 9 years after the DeFeo family bought the house, the village gained notoriety when the DeFeo family, a mother, father and 4 of the children, were shot to death inside their own house. Now Butch was the only surviving family member, and he was taken to the local police station for his own safety. Butch suggested to the officers that the shooting had been carried out by a mob hitman. Now, a mob killing was quickly ruled out, and the police started focusing their attention on the only surviving member, Ronald Jr., also known as Butch, who was only 23 years of age. Now, Ronnie had a reputation with violence, drugs and fighting with his father, and after only a short interrogation confessed to killing his whole entire family. Butch claimed that he killed his family in self-defense, as he said that he heard voices in the night of people plotting to kill him, which he believed was his own family. On the night of the murder, Butch woke up at approximately 3:15 AM and he killed his entire family whilst they slept. He took a rifle and shot both of his parents. He then shot his 2 younger brothers, Mark DeFeo, who was only 11 years old, and John DeFeo, who was 9 years old. He then went into his sister's bedroom. He killed Dawn DeFeo, who was only 18 years old, and then Allison, who was 13 years old. And he shot his whole entire family whilst they were asleep. Even though Butch was found guilty of 2 counts of second-degree murder, the question still remains on what happened on that tragic night. Why didn't the children run after hearing the gunshots? Like, just think about it. There must have been 2 gunshots with the parents, and the children didn't wake up at all. Like, that just does not make any sense to me. Even the last child, there would have had to been 3 more gunshots after the first 2, and they were still all asleep. The second thing, which is so strange, All of the family members were all laying on their stomachs. Every single one of them were all laying in the exact same position. Don't forget, this is only a small town. How did none of the neighbours hear 6 gunshots from a rifle? Reports say that all neighbours could hear was the barking of the family dog. That is just... I just don't understand that. 6 gunshots and all they could hear was the barking of the dog. Now, speculation surfaced that the DeFeo family were drugged at dinner, but post-mortem shows that they did not have any poison in their stomachs. There was no way they could have been drugged at dinner. Now, autopsy also proves that none of the victims were moved from the original spots that they died in. According to gun experts, the sound of a .35 Marlin rifle can be heard from a mile away, yet neighbours just next door of the house did not hear a thing. Now, after the murder, the DeFeo family house was put up for sale at a knockdown price of $80,000. Imagine buying a massive house for $80,000. It was then that George and Kathleen Lutz, who had just been married with young children, brought the family home. This was when the next chapter of the Amityville horror began. Now, George Lutz had a good friend who knew the history of the house and strongly advised to have it blessed before he moved in. The priest told the Lutz family not to use the one upstairs bedroom, as the priest actually said that he heard a voice telling him to get out when he was in that bedroom. Within the first few days of George Lutz and his family moving into the house, he was waking up at 3:15 in the morning every single night. Now, this was the exact same time that Butch killed his entire family. Now, George claimed that when he woke up, he felt restless, tired, and kept hearing strange noises. George Lutz became sick and underwent personality changes. He also claimed that he would always be cold and could never get warm, so he was constantly outside chopping wood because he was paranoid that there would never be enough for the fire. Kathy, George's wife, said she would feel different things in each room of the house. There would be temperature changes, even though it was the middle of the winter. There were also infestations of flies in certain rooms of the house that just would not go away. And they even became increasingly worried about their daughter's behaviour, Missy. Missy kept saying that she had a friend called Jodie, and Jodie would represent herself either as a little girl or as a pig. Missy would also say that Jodie would watch her through the window at night. Jodie told Missy that she was glad that she would be living there forever. As days went past, stranger and stranger things kept happening in the house. Large spots would appear on the carpets or in certain areas of the house, sometimes even turning black, and they would always hear footsteps, especially during the night, and would even wake up to screams. The noises and the personality changes that George went through got so bad that on January the 14th, 1976, only after 28 days in the DeFeo home, the family fled the house and didn't return. On the final night, it was believed that furniture was moving by itself. There were noises as loud as marching bands running throughout the house, and the kids were being absolutely terrorised. The bank reclaimed the property and auctioned off all of their belongings. They didn't even go back to get their belongings. They did not want to step foot back in that house. This caused major publicity. Reporters came all over the world to see the house. Visitors came from all over the world to see the Amityville Horror House. And this was when films were made, such as the Amityville Horror, books were made, and George and Kathy became famous. Now, the family moved in with Kathy's mother, and George wanted to get the house investigated by paranormal psychics such as Ed and Lorraine Warren. When investigating the property, both Ed and Lorraine said they felt a feeling of absolute terror. While inspecting the basement, which was where George spent quite a lot of his time by the fire to keep warm, Ed said that he encountered a terrifying inhuman presence. Both Ed and Lorraine concluded that the house was haunted and that there was an actual curse on the property itself, has highly been disapproved and dismissed. One of the more notorious settlers, named John Ketchum, who supposedly had been forced out of Salem in Massachusetts, had settled only 500 feet away from 1112 Ocean Avenue. It was there that John Ketchum allegedly was practicing devil worship. He is rumoured to be buried on that very property. Research also shows that the house was not only the scene of a murder, but it was also an alleged site of an ancient enclosure for the sick, mad and dying, which was operated by the Shinnecock Indian Nation. These unfortunate people were penned up inside and were just left to starve and eventually die. The Warrens believed that the suffering that happened on that property left it with such a negative energy, and that such negative energy was a magnet for demonic presences. The Warrens believe that this dark history was impacting the lives of both the DeFeos and now George and Kathy Lutz. Was this anything more than just a money-making scheme? Did George and Kathy take that horrifying event that happened to DeFeos and use it by pretending that the house was haunted? What stranger, Jim and Barbara Cromitty, bought the house after George and Kathy left, and they claimed that nothing happened whilst they were living in the house. They encountered no spiritual activity. Books and the films made it seem so the house was completely destroyed from demonic activity, but when they moved into the house they did not need to make any repairs. Anyway, real or not, it seems our fascination with the events that took place in that house will always leave us wondering what really happened to both the DeFeo family and the Lutz family. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think it was real, or do you think it was just a money-making scheme that George and Kathy had planned before buying the property? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this mystery video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you in my next video.